All right, connected the streaming software, and hopefully that means we're going live. Still dealing with this new updated YouTube live streaming interface. I'm not a super big fan of it, but we're going to make do with it. Because I think it's working. I think everything's working okay. I think I got a handle on like what the new bits and bobs are that I've got to click on to get everything working. So today for lunch, I saw these Lucky Charms classic cereal, sugary little puffs of, I don't know, corn and stuff, along with marshmallows. And they added a new twist with these. They are honey Lucky Charms with, let me see here, we've got whole grain corn, sugar, cornmeal, rice flour, and honey. So honey right there in the ingredients list. So glad to see that there's actual honey in these things. All right. I should make a habit of just like putting it there so folks know what it is that I'm eating. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you guys for joining me for a lunchtime live stream. As per usual, I'm sitting down to have myself a nice hearty lunch. I hope you guys have something to snack on, or maybe you're just hanging out to... Oops. Sorry about that. I try not to bump the microphone, but sometimes it does happen. So hopefully you've got some to snack on, and if not, still thank you for joining me. Maybe you just wanted to hang out, listen to me ramble on about some random topic. So it's been a while since I've done like a rundown of what's been happening in the world of competitive eating. For hopefully it's for obvious reasons, like not a whole lot has been going on. Major League Eating, I believe they announced that they're not going to be doing any more eating competitions for the rest of the year, eating contests for the rest of the year. So basically all I'm seeing being announced on eatfeats.com are just like smaller contests, where some things are happening. It's like trying to kind of scrape the bottom of the barrel for interesting topics. Oh, wow, that is delicious. I mean, I always liked Lucky Charms, but a little touch of honey. Oh, my goodness. I mean, honey is still quite a few ingredients down the list from just straight up sugar, but you can still get like a little hint of that honey taste in there. And it's a good flavor. I think it does complement the whole grain corn and cornmeal that's in here. I think that honey and corn is actually a pretty good combination. Not just like straight up corn on the cob, but honey and cornbread is like a really classic combination. Cornbread with a little bit of honey. And this is a little bit of what that's like reminiscent of, where like if you have day-old cornbread, one way that you could eat that is just to like crumble it up into a bowl or a cup of milk. And eat it with a spoon, and it is really delicious. If you've never tried that, it is pretty dang good. I got to be careful because I got the microphone right here, right outside of camera. And I do eat, pardon me, I do eat left-handed, so I'm like in danger of bumping into it. So hopefully I don't bump into the microphone. All right, well, like I said, most competitive eaters are in this state of like kind of semi-retirement right now. Like I've noticed Joey Chestnut, he's been putting out a lot more like social media content than he used to. I think mainly because, he's just not getting the kind of income from eating contests that he might have gotten in previous years. And the same goes for most other competitive eaters. It's mostly like YouTube stuff. YouTube, social media, content, that kind of thing, just to kind of keep the ball rolling, hopefully to keep folks who are interested in competitive eating out there knowing what's going on. So I saw this great matchup that was published on YouTube earlier this week of two people who I think are kind of like OG in the eating community, people who you don't really commonly think of as competitive eaters anymore. I did see that Adam Richmond went on Sean Evans' not first week feast, but it went on Sean Evans' show to, for another interview. This is the second time Adam Richmond has been on Hot Ones, where if you're not familiar with the show, it's really, really fascinating. I think it's really entertaining, where this guy Sean Evans gets people on to basically eat like ridiculously hot chicken wings that get progressively hotter over the course of like a 20 or 30 minute interview. And he always has like great personalities, really cool, famous people. Not usually like people who are big in the eating world, but it's kind of interesting to see that he's had Adam Richmond on a couple of times. So I watched the interview. It's a really charming interview. Adam Richmond's got great personality. He's always got great presence on video. And Sean Evans, like, if you've never seen any of his videos, like, he is the kind of person who, when you watch one of his videos on YouTube, like, you get the sense that he's the kind of guy that you'd want to like hang out with and be friends with. So it's always cool to kind of sit down and see what they're talking about. So yeah, they waxed nostalgic. I'm sure I've mentioned it before, but like, Adam Richmond is the guy who first got me interested in not really competitive eating so much, but like the food challenge world. Like, watching his old show Man vs. Food was what first got me interested in the idea of like going around to different restaurants around the world and doing all these food challenges. Like, I didn't even know that actually existed until I watched a couple of episodes of Man vs. Food, and I got thinking, like, man, I wonder if I could do that. And then the rest is history, as they might say. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, go to YouTube, check out Hot Ones. Excellent show. Always fun to see Adam Richmond. All right, next up on the docket. Speaking of competitive eaters, not really doing a whole lot. Matt Stoney. Man, you almost never hear about this guy anymore. For some reason, he's still got a YouTube channel that's still, increasing his subscribership by millions of viewers. He's still pulling in lots and lots of viewers, so he's doing really well for himself. I read this article on moneyinc.com. It's not the first article that I've seen kind of like guesstimating at Matt Stoney's net worth. But moneyinc.com says he's worth $5 million, which is pretty incredible in my opinion. Like, every now and then I kind of go through this mental... this little mental game of wondering just how many competitive eaters the economy out there can really sustain. There's this idea that like, in any competitive realm, in any realm at all, any professional realm, the economy can only sustain a certain number of people in a specific profession. Is once you get beyond a certain level of the populace being employed in a single profession, then eventually wages like get so low that you just can't have any more people of that particular profession. So like, personally, I think that competitive eating, you're only able to sustain a handful of people, maybe 10 or 12 people at most in America, solely as professional eaters, just getting money from eating contests and this kind of content. And Matt Stoney, like, he's the guy who's he's on top of the heap there. He's doing a great job with his YouTube channel. So this article did kind of an interesting breakdown in it, I think. Let me see. This is actually a pretty short article, so I could probably just like read through most of it. It starts with, competitive eating isn't for everyone, and it isn't exactly the easiest hobby to get into and keep up with. There's a misconception that competitive eating is a modern sport, but in fact, it's been around since 1916. For decades now, competitive eating athletes... Oh, I gotta say, to say competitive eating athletes, that I gotta chuckle at that a little bit. I don't know if I'd consider competitive eating an athletic pursuit, but I guess it's a competitive sport in a sense. Just like the way I wouldn't consider, like, I don't know, competitive video games and people who are competitive video gamers athletes, but it's still a competitive sport, so you got to give it that. All right, anyway. Moving on. For decades now, competitive eating athletes have been training their minds and stomachs to make incredible amounts of food to intake incredible amounts of food in such a short span of time. It's almost impossible to think of, yet competitive eaters such as Matt Stoney make it seem so easy. He's 5 foot 8 inches, 130-pound athlete, found his fame when he defeated the sport's household name, Joey Chestnut, in 2015 in a 2015 competition. Who would have imagined that you could have a net worth of $5 million by eating an exorbitant amount of hot dogs? That's certainly Stoney's current net worth, but it took more than just hot dogs for him to amass such a fortune. Here's a closer look at Matt Stoney, competitive eater, and how he achieved a net worth of $5 million. And he goes on a little bit to talk a little about, basically like where he came from and everything. So I didn't realize that he was born in 92. He's only 28 years old. I thought he was a little older than that. He's of Japanese, Lithuanian, and Czechoslovakian descent. Let me see if I can say that correctly, which is really interesting. And I will say that there's a little bit of a misnomer there. I think that before 2015, he was still doing pretty well for himself. I think he had already hit more than 1 million subscribers before he beat Joey Chestnut. But that was certainly the thing that like took it up a notch and just jettisoned him into the stratosphere. Because if you do look at that Coney Island eating contest, the 4th of July eating contest, you know, the man and the woman who take top prize there take home $10,000, which sounds like a lot, and it is certainly like a good payday for a single day's work. But in actuality, like the second place person takes, I think, $5,000. But in actuality, that first place spot is probably worth more like $100,000 based on the kind of exposure that you get over the course of the year, the kind of deals that you might be able to make, the kind of, you know, the fame that you get from beating such a prestigious eating contest. Oh. I'm just looking at some of the comments in the chat. Beyond Seattle Eats, thank you for dropping in. It says, ooh, new cereal. Haven't had that one before. Yeah, it's really good. I think eating an entire box of it in one sitting might be a little bit too much for most people, but the first few bites are really enjoyable, and it is nice and crunchy, even though it's been soaking for a while. And Flower Power wants to tell me all about God. We'll go ahead and put that user in timeout. I don't think I need to hear any more about God. Yeah, there we go. I don't think I need to hear any more about God. Thank you, Flower Power. I understand that people are religious, but even though I believe it sounds like we may share similar religious views, this is probably not the channel to be talking about religion. So, anyway, moving on. Yeah, sorry guys. There are not too many things that I'm going to hide in the comments from this channel, but if somebody starts getting preachy, yeah, this isn't the place. Let's see, I'm taking a quick scan through this Matt Stoney article to see if there's anything else super interesting that came up. So, interesting fact, it says that Matt Stoney started his career at 18 years old. Although that may be a late start in most sports, it wasn't for competitive eating. In fact, Matt Stoney was the youngest member of MLE by the time of his professional debut. I did not know that, actually. I think 18 years old is extremely young to start being a competitive eater. But hey, I guess, you know, Matt Stoney, he's a different animal. Like, yeah, a lot of people say that Matt Stoney is kind of like an alien, and I don't disagree. He's a bit of a strange guy. So yeah, this is on moneyinc.com, which is moneyinc.com, Matt-Stoney-net-worth. If anybody wants to check out the rest of the article, it talks a little bit about some stats for him and the different, you know, basically how he grew up, or how he grew through his career as a competitive eater. Thank you guys in the chat for the support. I appreciate it. Said Eric Winneker, no one's changing their views while watching your stream, Steve. And yeah, beyond Seattle, yes, I agree with you. This is not the place to discuss politics and religion. I think if you want to start a fight with just about anywhere, just mentioning politics or religion is a great way to do it. So yeah, I'm all about the love. Always good to see you guys. Let's see. So like I mentioned, Adam Richmond, he's been a big inspiration for the different kinds of events that I like to do, the eating challenges at restaurants, not so much the contests. Like, I'll do the contests, I enjoy them, but I really enjoy those restaurant challenges a lot more personally. And one of the other guys that I discovered later in life was Randy Santel. So it's interesting to see that he's been on the move. For a while, he was doing kind of like COVID-19 lockdown style challenges where he's doing a lot of home challenges. And it's cool to see that he actually recently went through Alaska with Katina, whose last name I do not know. She's got a YouTube channel, Katina Eats Kilos. So she and Randy did a bunch of challenges up in Alaska. I watched a bunch of them. They look like they're amazing challenges. Like, it really makes me want to buy a ticket to Alaska and just do my own tour around there. Of course, now this was really recent, and if you do follow Randy Santel, you might know that he does not publish videos immediately after he does his challenges. You can find him on, I think he does a lot of live streams on Facebook, I believe. He's tried a couple on YouTube, but I think that he's just not like super happy with the YouTube live streaming interface. So I think he does most of his live streaming stuff on Facebook, and then he like publishes his videos later on YouTube. And sometimes there's like a week between when he shoots a video and when it gets published. Sometimes it's like months. So yeah, you can never tell like where he is based on what's going on YouTube. But if you check out, like I said, Katina Eats Kilos, you can find her on Facebook, on YouTube, all the different channels. You can watch her videos. She does a great job with her videos. They're very charming. I think that Katina is a very charming woman. She does a great job really highlighting the different kinds of foods that she's eating. Yeah, I just really like her videos. So you should definitely check those out if you want to see what she and Randy have been up to, and see some frankly just ridiculous, over-the-top eating challenges that they've been doing. I saw one of the last ones that Katina published just a couple of days ago was a giant breakfast challenge, and it included, this like 6-pound platter of different breakfast foods, and then it topped it off with like a 2-pound cinnamon roll. And it was just so amazing. Beyond Seattle, you say Katina lives in Spokane, Washington. So she's been moving around. I believe she actually lives in Mississippi nowadays. Well, she was in Mississippi for a while. I know that for a while she was in Spokane. And I think she actually says she still lives in Spokane. So maybe she just was in Mississippi for a while. If I remember correctly, she's military. She's in one of the branches of the military. So I wouldn't be surprised if she has to move around a little bit for that. But yeah, a lot of her, if you like go back to some of her earlier, most of her early videos on YouTube are all Eastern Washington State, which is around the Spokane area. So it is pretty cool that Katina's in Washington. And if I am ever in that area, I'm definitely going to have to get in touch with Katina, see if she'll do a challenge with me. Let me see. So moving on from that, so Randy, I saw his master schedule. Glad to see that he's able to get up and travel around. I know that a lot of states have these like quarantine policies where if you travel from certain states, for example, if you travel from Washington State to New York State, they require that you quarantine for 2 weeks before you're even like allowed to walk around the streets. So glad to see that Randy and his team are putting together a schedule for him to continue doing challenges. Always a good time. I'm sure everybody on this challenge, or on this, everybody who's subscribed to my channel knows I'm a big Randy. I'm a big fan of Randy Santel. So I think the stuff that he does is pretty incredible. And let's see, the last. Last little bit of news, I think it's pretty cool. Kind of crosses over the two different worlds where I'm in, which is competitive eating and video games. Is next week, this video game called Bite the Bullet is going to be released on Steam. So anybody who's interested in video games, I thought this was kind of a creative idea. It's like a run and gun, a side-scrolling shooter, 2D shooter with kind of like old school 8-bit graphics. Yeah, I mean, you can get the idea of what it's like just from some of these trailers, some of the videos and everything along those lines. But it is a competitive eating inspired side-scrolling shoot 'em up, which I think is just ridiculous. So let's see, the description of it says, Bite the Bullet is the world's first run and gun and eat. In this roguelike RPG shooter, you must eat enemies, bullets, and more to power up your character, weapons, and abilities. Gun down zombies, robots, and giant mutant bosses with a barrage of bullets before chowing down on their corpses to craft new weapons, unlock new abilities and special attacks, and transform into powerful zombie form to smash foes. Oh, no. It says, and transform into a powerful Zombro form. Whatever that means. Zombro! All right. It says, explore 4 character classes and skill trees based on your diet, and remember, you are what you eat. So I think the coolest thing about this video game is it was featured, I believe it was featured in PAX, which is Penny Arcade Expo. A couple of months ago. Maybe it was supposed to be, but it got canceled. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the story is with that. But anyway, what I think is most interesting is that there are a lot of competitive eaters who make cameos in this game. So you can see like Nick Weary and Mickey Sudo are in there. Freak Eating is in there. Notorious B.O.B. is in there. So I think I'm going to at least spend a couple of hours checking this game out since it is released next week on Steam. It's also going to be on Nintendo Switch and Xbox, so if you got any of those platforms, it's just kind of a silly thing to check out. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for yet another lunch live stream. Always cool to see everybody. Always fun to hang out with folks. Always glad to have people listen to me ramble about random stuff while I eat random sugary stuff. So, so thank you, Tuna Shogun. Thank you, Eric Winokur. Thank you, Beyond Seattle Eats. And thank you to everybody else who decided to show up. Always good to see you guys. Yeah, Beyond Seattle Eats. I think that you, me, and Katina, we gotta get together and do some kind of some kind of food challenge in the area, if it can happen. I don't know, but like I said, she is military, so I'm sure she's got a crazy schedule. All right, guys, thank you for surviving yet another week of lockdown. I hope everybody is staying healthy, both physically and mentally in there, because I mean, the biggest thing about this pandemic is unfortunately not the physical side effects of it, but it is like staying connected to friends and family when everyone's trying to lock down and be safe. And it is like it is a difficult thing to kind of make sure that you're taking care of your sanity, your mental health, as well as your physical health. So I'm going to be keeping up these lunchtime live streams. I think my fall quarter actually starts in like 6 weeks. I don't know. I got to look at what the schedule is there, 5 or 6 weeks. So I know that at least until then, I'm still going to be doing these live streams every week. Yeah, and until next time, peace out. You guys take it easy. Have a good one.